What's the good word, y'all? The Jets Flight Squad. We're back in the building, or at least buildings and cars and houses. It's nice to catch up with you guys again. We're working hard on trying to make this a weekly thing for y'all again. But Jets football, DKBX Jets. I got my boy Italy Jet from Everything NYJ, and we got our boy
Did he
Gunny.
freeze? Okay.
Do your Jets situation report in the building.
What's up, y'all? We back. At least we're trying to make this a constant thing. I know we've been off the grid for a little while, but hey, life happens to everybody, even us, Jets fanatics who want to be on YouTube talking Jets football with you guys. But we came together, figured it out, and here we are again, bringing back the Jets Flight Squad.
What's going on, everyone? What's going on, everyone? We are back and ready to go. I've been out of commission for a while. I've been at my darkness retreat for 2 weeks, and I come out and I decide that I am going to continue podcasting. I'm not retiring. So there you go. We're back.
Hey, it's a good segue. You know what's crazy about this whole ordeal?
Yeah.
Y'all know me. I get tired of talking quarterbacks very, very quick.
Me too. Yeah.
But it's the irony of it. And there's been a lot of videos dropped recently about like Aaron Rodgers and what his, chemistry fit is on the team and all that kind of stuff. I find it crazy that we might get an answer to what's going to happen Tuesday via him probably dropping on the Pat McAfee show instead of telling his franchise or reaching out to the Jets or anything like that. We're going to hear it on the talk show that he does. Then we're going to hear both of the GMs speak, and they're probably going to get caught off guard. And then hopefully we have a solid answer on our end about what this grown 4-year-old man is going to decide what he wants to do with his life.
Well, hold
It's
on.
annoying as hell.
He's only 39.
Is he?
You're comparing him to Tom Brady. He's only 39. He's about to be 40 starting season.
Shit,
You know what it is? You know what it is in my head? The man looks exactly like Negan from The Walking Dead, and so I automatically throw him in like that 45 range.
He really does, though, bro. You know what's funny? I think you're right. I think somebody else tweeted this out. Like, we've been waiting since last week for him to go ahead and tell us what he's thinking, what he wants to do. Yeah. Somebody commented like, "Oh, we'll find out. If you want to find out, just tune into the Pat McAfee show next week. That's when it's going to come out." And it really wouldn't surprise me in the least bit if that's how we find out what Aaron Rodgers plans on doing. Like the fact that you brought it up, I'm like, bro, you're right.
Oh yeah, he's going to do that. Yeah,
that's very possible.
100%. Either way, I think it's. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I'm sure there's a DM somewhere, and he's like, "Oh, Tuesday's gonna be juicy."
Yeah, he's gonna pull LeBron. I'm taking my talents either Green Bay or my home in the woods or the Jets. I don't know. Who knows?
He has a lot going on, yo. I hear a lot of people saying now like he's going to be wearing green. It's just depending on what shade. So either Packers or Jets seems like what is going to happen. Right. He has a lot of stuff going on in his life. Darkness retreats, meditation. I heard the man is investing or like has business with some kind of health stuff, which apparently would clash with like the Johnson & Johnson family and like what they do and have their investments in. The man wants to be a game show host for what was it? Family Feud?
Family Feud.
No, that's not Family Feud. That's Steve Harvey.
Oh, it was no, you're right. It was
Price is Right. It's Price. It's Jeopardy. It's Jeopardy.
It's Jeopardy. Yeah.
Jeopardy?
Yeah, he likes
game shows.
Jeopardy was the one, right? Questions.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Columns.
He's not doing that anymore, though. They already have a replacement, so I don't think he's going to do that. In my opinion, I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, I think I'm still steadfast in my opinion. If he's wearing a shade of green, I hope it's the Packers, and we call it a day. I'm not a fan of everything that's going to come with it, and knowing our media and how like voracious those guys get, they're gonna have a field day with him before he even gets onto a practice field. They're gonna have a field day. We're gonna get all kind of questions about nonsense none of us really care about. I don't see it just being a football environment anymore. It's going to be a lot more extra nonsense and drama that'll come along with it. And I don't want to say he's a drama queen, but I think there's some diva tendencies. And I heard somebody say maybe, which is a better outlook on it, he has ego problems.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've heard all that too. And then I talked to a buddy of mine, it's a Packers fan, a podcaster. He said that he thinks it's all a lie. He doesn't think it's true. But I mean, his track record is not that great with that kind of stuff. And also, like, I understand you go up and get Love, the Packers. I understand that. Like, I'm fully behind, Rodgers when it comes to that I would probably be a little bit butthurt too. But it's still your team. It's still your team. Yeah, you're 39 years old. You're going to be 40. But if he's going to do anything, my personal opinion, I agree with Dark Soldier right here. I think he's either going to stay or retire. I don't see him with the Jets anymore. I'm kind of giving up on that a little bit. Gunny, what do you think?
I think the contrary. I actually think that Aaron Rodgers is still the number one choice for the Jets. I think that the conversations have already been had with the organization. It's just a matter of whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to agree to be traded. There's just where there's smoke, there's fire, man. There's just too many things out there that talks about how, the organization wants to move on from him. His contract is very, very, very tradable right now. There were entertaining trade packages last year. Unfortunately, it was too expensive to move on from him. And then Aaron Rodgers right now going into his last couple of years in the league, this dude isn't chasing money anymore. He's chasing wins. And when he looks at the roster he has right now in Green Bay, there's no way he looks at that roster and feels like, man, this team right now can win and get me to a Super Bowl or give me a chance at a Super Bowl. There's just too much smoke going on. I see Dark Soldier stated that if he was going to leave, he'd be meeting with teams already. He can't. He's not a free agent. You know what I'm saying? He can't do that. That would be tampering. That's the reason why he hasn't done so. He has to first make the team aware of what he's going to do, whether it's retire and if he's retiring, then they can move on. But I don't think the conversation is about really him staying. I think the only way he stays in Green Bay is if they're going to somehow, some way add some more talent around him, which means they're going to have to make some trades to go ahead and bring in some proven talent to kind of get Aaron Rodgers over the hump. And he's going to, of course, have to restructure his contract. Otherwise, trading him is really the only option. And they're not going to trade Aaron Rodgers somewhere he doesn't want to go. I do believe the New York market would go ahead and go a long way towards Aaron Rodgers' legacy. I personally believe he's still option number one. But I'm not opposed to Derek Carr. People keep sitting here talking about, Derek Carr would be a failure or a loss. To me, if we get Derek Carr, are we talking Super Bowl contention? I don't know. But I do believe we're definitely playoff contenders with Derek Carr in the fold.
I agree.
I think I don't even discount or disargue, I guess, that Aaron Rodgers should be QB1. I just think there's a lot of factors in there that'll take away from what we can ultimately do to build the best Super Bowl team, which I think is what a lot of people stopped focusing on. Team effort. Quarterback, yes, huge piece of the huge piece of the puzzle. Let's say it's 80% if we want to go to the extreme of making sure you have your team figured out. But they also forget, as great as Patrick Mahomes was, he could have taken an L to this Eagles team, which looked like the most complete team that was out there. And, 2 turnovers that don't happen, and we're probably looking at the Eagles holding up a championship. So when I look at it, Aaron Rodgers, yes, obviously much more talented than Derek Carr. At the cost of what his contract would create, the attention he's going to get from the media market, potentially taken away from our draft and some recruiting efforts, because I could see maybe some issues where people wouldn't want to join just based on the personality, from what I keep hearing anyways. And, we're starting to get Hall of Famers that are chiming in and, speaking up about some of their adversity they think that Aaron Rodgers could hit. I think Derek Carr makes more sense. And so my question I'm usually asking people is, the numbers say recently Derek Carr probably somewhere around like a $35 million contract. I would argue Aaron Rodgers isn't $15 to $20 million better than Derek Carr on this team.
He's due to make $58 million this year, though. Rodgers.
Right.
So,
and Derek Carr's going to say,
Aaron Rodgers' $58 million number is based off of what the annual number would wind up being, right? But they've already paid him that money. It was already front loaded. The $58 million we're talking about is a signing bonus that will be paid out pretty much in cash by whichever owner decides they want to take on his contract. So it wouldn't really be a hit towards the salary cap, which is actually a good thing, because then we're talking about his real salary cap hit is like $15 million for this coming year.
That was the signing bonus.
No, the signing bonus is $58 million. So that wouldn't hit. That doesn't hit the cap. The $58 million won't hit the cap. That's why a owner has to have that in cash to put in escrow for him, because that's guaranteed to him as a signing bonus, which means his actual cap hit would be about $15 million. When you're looking at it in all actuality, with all things considered, Aaron Rodgers gives us the best chance in a shorter window, 2 to 3 years from now, to go ahead and be talking Super Bowl opportunity. And you made a very good point, DK. You said that the Philadelphia Eagles, with a complete team, still wind up losing because of what? Patrick Mahomes on the other squad. They wind up losing. That shows you the invaluable contribution. If you have the quarterback right, if you have that elite quarterback, they can overshadow a bunch of things. The New York Jets right now arguably have a top 5 wide receiver room, a top 5 running back room, a top 3 the defensive back room. I think our linebackers are in the top 10 category. If we bring one of those 2 of our guys back, our offensive line really being the biggest question mark in the safety component, we're not going to have every position right, man, to go ahead and make a run. We can't wait for the team to be perfect to then bring in the quarterback to compete. And that's why for me, man, I'm just like, hey, let's go for the gold. I think in this situation, if you can bring in Aaron Rodgers, you're talking about somebody who can overshadow some of the concerns we have on the roster. And again, Patrick Mahomes just showed you don't need a whole complete roster to win a Super Bowl. He did it with what I would say maybe a top 15 wide receiver room, but he had the tight end and they had him and they were able to go ahead and make things happen. So I think when you have that, you know what I'm saying, put that into consideration, an elite quarterback can overshadow a lot of things that a good quarterback can't. And that's why I look at Aaron Rodgers being the guy that could give us that bet, even if it does cost us the 13th overall pick this year. $15 million this year, then I believe it will be $40 million next year. I think we'd be paying Derek on the cap. We'd be paying Derek Carr more than we would be paying Aaron Rodgers over these next couple of years.
Yeah, he wants 35 this year, at least. Carr does.
Yeah.
I check out.
Dark Soldier had a question.
Yeah, I've seen.
Well, that's just it, Dark Soldier. I don't think that's going to be a thing. So ultimately, Aaron Rodgers right now is going to say, listen, yes, I want to play again next year, and I'm willing to be traded. That's pretty much it. At that point, the Packers are going to present to him the teams with the best offer. I would imagine the New York just have already put their number out there or a package out there for them. And we already heard the Oakland Raiders are out because they just simply can't afford that $58 million freaking signing bonus to go ahead and pay him. The Panthers are interested. The Jets are interested. But the Packers have already said the NFC is not a team they're willing to deal him with. With that said, they've limited pretty much their dancing partners in the Aaron Rodgers freaking sweepstakes. So I think what it boils down to is going to be that Aaron Rodgers says yes or no to the Jets. And when you look at everything on paper, I don't see why he would say no. His best 2 seasons of the last decade as a quarterback in the NFL was with Nathaniel Hackett as his OC. So I'm going to tell you that doesn't matter because, it was the head coach calling plays. But, okay, what happened last year or the year before Nathaniel Hackett got there, right? So there's some correlation to Nathaniel Hackett having some kind of magic with Aaron Rodgers. I don't care what anybody says. And I think Aaron Rodgers believes that too. So I do believe it's us or the Packers. I don't think there's any other option on the table. I think if he decides he wants to play and he would rather compete right now, the Jets make more sense than the Packers. We have way more talent than the Packers do. And I think Aaron Rodgers knows this. He's even stated that he's not looking to be a part of a rebuild. He wants to compete and compete now. So that's why I feel good about if Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to play, that the trade partner that they have is us. Now, if it's not him, again, Derek Carr, I'm on board. But in terms of the compensation piece, it was very surprising to me when I saw the numbers and I was like, damn, actually, Aaron Rodgers is cheaper in terms of the cap ramifications than Derek Carr would be at $35 million a year. But
if I think I'm getting my numbers switched around. I think with Aaron Rodgers' contract, the issue that we run into with is that we still I don't think it's a cap thing. I think Gunny's right with that. If I'm remembering correctly now, it's more so the fact that he'll be on our books with dead money the way they structured his contract.
Yes.
So we'll still be paying him
Facts.
for not being with us if he retires within 2 years.
Correct. There'll be a 2 years worth of dead cap of about 25 and I think 45 million. So that's what's really ugly. Would be if he's not on the roster after these 2 seasons. I mean, if he's on the roster, then we're paying him that money and nobody cares. But if he's not on the roster, we're just eating that, and that's just money gone.
Okay. So I guess and then we'll kind of play off maybe the free agency part from this, but assuming Aaron Rodgers is our go-to guy, and I really don't have major red flags with either one. I think we're getting a winning product with Aaron Rodgers or Carr.
Facts.
It's just who's giving us the best victory, and like that's kind of where I'm at with that conversation. But assuming it is Aaron Rodgers and we do have to forego a first-round pick, where I think at best everybody's assuming maybe we can eke out 2 years from Aaron Rodgers. So are we looking at, what does the future of the quarterback situation, I guess, look like for you guys? Are you comfortable with Zach Wilson trying to develop under him for 2 years and then we give him a shot along with maybe a rookie along the way? Or what does that look like? Because the Derek Carr side of that conversation goes, he's signing a 3-4 year contract that's essentially going to run out Zach Wilson's. We'll find somebody to draft and develop. It won't really be a huge ordeal.
Man, I say whatever happens, happens. I think with Carr, Carr's going to be like a 5 or 6 year project because he still has a lot. He's got a lot of years left that he can't. Rodgers, I can only see Rodgers playing 2 or 3 years. If you're Zach Wilson, I would develop under your idol and be that next man up. But I can also see the Jets drafting someone else if Rodgers is here and Zach Wilson can go somewhere else like Darnold and Geno did and everything. But the thing about Carr is going to want to be the starter for a long time. Like that's going to look like a pretty big contract in my opinion. With how much he wants, $35 million. I don't see Wilson sticking around if it's going to be 5 or 6 years if that's what Carr wants because he's younger than Rodgers. So it's kind of like a hit or miss. If Zach Wilson will do it, then he's going to do it Rodgers, but Carr, I just can't see it.
I mean, for me, man, I think if you get Aaron Rodgers, it goes back to what Illy just said, man. You've got Aaron Rodgers coming in. We already know Zach admires. That's his mentor. He loves the dude. Imagine Zach Wilson sitting the hell down for the next 2 years while we probably should have done with him when he first came into the league. The kid has immense arm talent. We can't argue that. The kid has immense arm talent. We all know it's between the ears that he's obviously freaking just jacking this whole thing up. If Aaron Rodgers can get there and he gets to sit back and watch, and maybe there's a chance to make him a serviceable starter. So we can actually look at him during his 5th year option and kind of get an idea of what he is, then great. Maybe we do have the option of seeing Zach Wilson become QB1 once Aaron Rodgers retires. But in the same token, if it's Derek Carr, you're right. I don't see Derek Carr being here for less than 3 to 4 years. There's just no way. And if that's the case, you're going to take this opportunity to still, same thing. Hey, watch what a veteran looks like when they're playing the game. Derek Carr is a quarterback that's literally would have been the number 1 quarterback in NFL history had he played for us since the beginning of his career, all things considered. Hey, watch this guy operate, watch him play. And then you get Zach Wilson out there, you know what I'm saying, during garbage time. And we're smoking the team in the regular season. Hey, throw Zach Wilson out there to get a couple of passes in. In the preseason, you highlight Zach Wilson when you have the opportunity. That way you're able to go ahead and kind of fluff up a little bit his value, and then we trade him. We're not going to get our first back. We already know that. But we saw freaking Joe Douglas get a second and 2/4 for freaking Sam Darnold. So I never put anything past that man being able to go ahead and pull wonders. So if we were able to go ahead and showcase Zach a little bit, if it's Derek Carr, we're able to trade him, get a 3rd, maybe a 2nd, who knows, for him, then we go that route. And we're able to potentially get that 2nd or 3rd round pick, depending on where we're picking. I don't anticipate just be picking very high with either quarterback at the helm. So you're going to have to look for a project quarterback that we can potentially put behind Derek Carr towards the back end of his career that can potentially develop and take over after the fact. But both solutions, I think, it works. It really works. Had Zach Wilson been the guy for the Jets, man, we would be en route to being a freaking dynasty. If Zach Wilson had developed the way a guy like Sauce did, Garrett Wilson did, even Breece Hall, we're talking about dynasty for the next freaking 5 to 10 years. But that didn't happen. And we're not going to be able to afford all these guys on the roster for the next 10 years anyway. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, JJ, like someone's going to have to walk. Brees Hall, we are not going to be able to re-sign all of these guys.
Yeah, just name them.
You know, it's just a matter of time. So right now is the time for us to go ahead and take advantage because these guys develop way faster than we anticipated they would. I don't think any of us saw these guys be this good this fast. And because of that aspect, we've got a team that I think right now can make a push. I'm not saying we're Super Bowl favorites, but this is a team that I think can compete. We lost 6 games this year by 1 possession with the worst quarterback play in the league. Think about that. We had rotation at offensive line. And even with that, we lost our 2 best offensive weapons in Elijah Vera-Tucker and Brees Hall. We lost 6 games this season by 1 possession. Hell, had we had Jacoby Brissett at quarterback this year, the Jets are AFC East champions. So whenever I hear people saying like, man, we're just not close enough, we're not close enough, I'm like, we are closer than you. This is the AFC. This isn't the NFC. If this happened in the NFC, we're like, oh, okay, well, whatever. It's the NFC. This is the AFC. And the New York Jets they lost 6 games by single possession with the worst quarterback play in the NFL, with their number 1 running back down, their number 1 offensive lineman down, and we were still that competitive. I think we're really sleeping on just how much an upgrade at quarterback could have alleviated some of this stuff. Again, Jacoby Brissett with his current roster would have won the AFC East had he been our quarterback. So I think we're closer than people realize, man. We're talking about a team that's going to be able to see another year of growth. Brees Hall coming back healthy, AVT coming back healthy. Who knows? Big Ticket might come back and he's finally freaking healthy for a full season. We have no idea. And that's where I'm looking at it in terms of what can be vice what can't be. But yeah, both options to me, DK, make sense. You find ways to manifest it to go ahead and benefit the team overall, but I can see either way going the right way.
Let's see. Dark Soldier's saying you don't think Carr is that much better than Jacoby. He wouldn't get the team to the Super Bowl. I think it's a different question than kind of what's being covered now, though. So
yeah. No. With Jacoby, we would have been AFC East champions. But with Derek Carr, we're talking about we're going to win a couple playoff games. There's a big difference. I'm not saying Jacoby could have taken us to the playoffs and done anything. I just know with his numbers from the regular season, with where we were at, we would have been the AFC East champions. It's not even close. It's not even close. Like, if you look at the numbers, we would have ran away with it by a mile. It wouldn't even been close. But in the playoffs, it's a different story. I'm not saying Jacoby Brissett is good enough to win in the playoffs. I think Derek Carr is good enough to win in the playoffs. Whether or not he can win enough to get us to a Super Bowl, that I don't know, Dark Soldier. That to me is the big question.
I mean, we've we've gone through this a lot. It didn't take a whole lot for us to see some strong success with the quarterbacks that we had. Nobody's excited about Joe Flacco. We were excited about Zach Wilson. That ended very early. Mike White. I don't even think there was excitement there. I think there was passion about us finally having an offense that is moving, and we're not seeing 16 3-and-outs consistently. Like, people talk up Mike White so much in the Jets community, and I'm like, you guys are forgetting Mike White's probably not even better than a Jacoby Brissett. If we're being honest, he's probably in that tier, maybe just below him. So our expectations are so low of what we want at quarterback. I find it funny, a lot of these conversations about Aaron Rodgers versus Derek Carr versus, Daniel Jones and all these other guys, because, like, we haven't had that level. Us as fans, I'm just hitting my 30s, right? I'm just hitting my 30s. I just really started paying attention to the franchise and not just being a fan that's viewing games for maybe a decade, maybe less. So I haven't seen what an elite quarterback looks like on my team. On my team paying attention, I haven't seen it. I know what other teams look like, and then still there's a lot of things that factor into that. Did they naturally have that talent and they just needed pieces around them? Did they gradually progress? There's a lot of pieces to the discussion. So to see us settling, because there's still a huge segment of our fan base is still like, we need to bring Mike White back. Give the man the $8 million contract and then still go and sign an Aaron Rodgers or something. I'm like, the thought process is mind-boggling to me. But I think either way, I think the question really becomes how high are we going to shoot with our expectations. If it's Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers clearly gives us the best chance. There's no guarantees at all, but just based off talent, resume, what he brings to the table, Aaron Rodgers is the guy. Derek Carr, I like the fact that he's literally willed his own team twice to the playoffs, and then he's taken 2 L's, which a lot of people are giving him flack for, but they still forget he didn't have crap around him. His defense was still terrible. He's had 1 or 2 pieces really on offense. It's been Darren Waller, it's been Hunter Renfrow. Then he's had guys like Jacobs that maybe are out there for periods of time. But I don't know. I think either way, it's not as big of a conversation. I think maybe people are more so upset about if we're spending draft picks than anything else. I personally just don't like having to potentially rely on Zach Wilson again. I do want him to develop behind the scenes, but I'm very scared of the fact that maybe we risk losing a first-round pick and we see that man retire after 1 year and we don't have a Super Bowl ring to show for it. That's kind of what I envision, worst-case scenario. But if you want to think about it in just pure data and numbers terms, you get a proven guy that's won a Super Bowl with a round 1 pick as opposed to a rookie that may not show anything. It's ultimately what I look at when I have to think about what we're talking about here.
And that's for me. If you're asking me, you know what I'm saying, you trade a first round pick to be a Super Bowl contender? Yeah. I'll give you the first round pick all day.
Every day of the week.
I mean, that every day of the week. And it's when you look at the Aaron Rodgers versus the 13th overall pick conversation, we're talking about an unproven, like you just said, an unproven for a guy we know can ball in this league. That could be a huge impact and boost to our offense. I would hate it for it to be 1 year too, 100%. I would despise it. But if you're telling me in that 1 year, we're talking about potentially Super Bowl the entire year and we lose in the AFC East Championship or the AFC Championship game, I don't know about you, bro, but I haven't seen that in a while. It's been over a decade.
Yeah.
So I think
it's kind of like the Rams. They bring in Odell and Von Miller and Stafford, and they win a championship. So I get it.
I don't think they're upset that right now. They
aren't. They spent everything and got a ring. I wouldn't be
but how many people do you think are upset about that? They can say they're recent Super Bowl champions. Nobody, bro.
And then we wouldn't have to trade Ramsey too. So they're just going to get some capital back. But they got.
And you still feel good about them heading into next season. Yeah, they missed the playoffs, but people are still talking about the Rams going right back to the playoffs.
Right.
Like they're legitimate. You know what I'm saying? I mean, granted, when you're in the NFC, that helps, but. I don't know, man. When I look at this and I see the Aaron Rodgers, again, Derek Carr, I would not cry about it. I'd be happy about it too. But I'm with you, man. I don't want to see Zach Wilson nowhere near the field next year. It's not feasible to go ahead and sign Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr and get Mike White. It's not possible. We're going to be paying freaking Zach Wilson $20 million just to chill. You know what I'm saying? You're going to pay anywhere from $25 million to $40 million for a quarter. That's almost $60 million dedicated to the quarterback room where only one person. That's too much. I don't know, man. I'm really hoping it's Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, if it's Derek Carr, which I found out today that the Panthers are now out of the Derek Carr conversation as well. There were another team that we had to keep an eye out.
Yeah, but he still has more visits.
Out.
They're still doing more visits.
There's still like 3 teams they said, but there's 3 teams who the 3 teams are.
3 teams for now, but he's doing more visits though.
It was Panthers, Saints, and us. That's what I'm saying. The 3 teams were Panthers, Saints, and us.
No. They were saying there's 3 additional teams out there.
There's 3 more
that nobody knows about.
Yes.
3 teams that are interested. Nobody knows who they are.
Yes.
Yeah, the Saints are also out. They can't afford them. They broke as hell.
You know what I was really? I've been deathly afraid. Derek Carr doesn't seem like the guy, but I've been deathly afraid for a while that he's giving us the Kirk Cousins treatment and he's trying to run up a price tag to go somewhere else. I would be.
That's because of the PTSD. Kirk Cousins did.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I didn't even want Kirk Cousins, but the story came back in my head, and I was like, "This motherfucker could be trying to get $40 million instead of 35 off of us."
Right. I mean, it all messed up when Watson got his contract, and now Lamar's pulling his stuff. So, I mean, this just how it is right now.
I can't knock any of them because it is a very brutal sport, as we've seen, and even like freak stuff like the DeMar Hamlin stuff can go down. So, get whatever security you can right now while the legs is fresh.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But
go on. Sorry.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
I know, Gunny, you got to get going here in a sec. But
it's all good. I'm fine.
I think also to be to look out as well with Douglas, going back to what Gunny said. I mean, he turned in draft capital with Cashman and Herndon. We got one draft pick back for both of them, and that's insane. I wouldn't be surprised if Douglas trades back or trades up, just like he did with Breece Hall, to go get him and get more draft picks. I don't. You never know with that man, like we just said. I'm more worried about kind of the defense. I know people are like, I'm not worried about the defense. We're going to be fine. Rankins wants 8 to 10 million. You have to re-sign the Williams brothers. And what are you going to do with Mosley and Quan? And then you have to go get another safety. Do you just build that all in the draft? Do you just build that linebacker and safety position in a draft? Or do you go out and get someone else on the D-line? Because we know GFM is good in the middle. I don't think he's built for the outside. You got to get Clemens and JJ and bring back Huff to get on those sides because they're better, and get rid of Lawson. Now, I know some people on Twitter are like, I wouldn't mind keeping Lawson, but I don't. What has he done? I mean, he's been injured. I understand he's a good locker room guy. I get that. But what's your guys' view on the defense?
Yes. So, and I'm trying to remember the term that's out there, but let's just say recency bias for now. But we fall into, and this is for every team that's out there, we fall into this habit of thinking, all right, this is where we finished. This is the starting point for where we should be next year. Top 5 defense this year does not mean top 5 defense next year. Keep in mind, we were all concerned the first couple weeks of the season when we were like, well, what the hell's going on? We're talking about miscommunications. We're letting up touchdowns that should have never happened. People walking into the end zone. Like, we were legitimately scared. Thank God coaching staff figured it out, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
but
thank God, yeah.
What we did to end the season does not mean that's where we're going to begin or even finish next year. And so you continue to your best to try to retool, add pieces that you think are going to build onto what we have. So looking at our team now, and just like Sheldon Rankins and them kind of outside because, their contract's over at the moment, but people physically with an active contract, I personally am probably one of the few. I'm not touching CJ Mosley's contract because what happens when we're restructuring is we just keep pushing money into later years of his deal.
And we already did that too with Mosley once as well.
And we're going to have to hang on to him pretty much for the life of his contract that we gave him, right? And he signed that 5-year deal originally, and I think we added some voided years or whatever when we restructured. But I don't want to I'm not taking away from his greatness or anything like that, but durability concerns there. And then at best, this is probably what we're looking at, a second team all pro. And this was with all the pieces that we were able to build around with them. So I would take the hit this year to keep his contract as is. You can play it. We have an out next year. There's the conversation about like Quincy and Quan. Personally, Bobby Wagner is getting released. I would love to see the man on our defense. I would love to see him lined up next to a CJ Mosley, and then we can try to feed more snaps to a guy like Jamie or Hamza Nasruddin, whatever. At that point, I don't think it's as much of a detriment, and we can still add a draft piece. So I still take a look at the defensive line as the biggest priority. At cornerback, we're set. Yeah, maybe we dish out Bryce Hall for a pick, and we go and try to find somebody else in the pipeline again. The Eagles' blueprint was extremely impressive to me. We're talking about a defensive line that had 4 people running a rotation not too dissimilar from ours that had 10 sacks. 4 guys with 10 sacks, and we're talking their top guys seeing maybe, I think it was like 86% of the snaps or something like that. They're running a rotation very similar to ours. We can build the same kind of line. I do think it takes us keeping Carl Lawson. We're still talking about a guy that's only 1 year removed from his ACL surgery. He put up 7 sacks on a defensive line rotation where he's not eating up, 90% of the plays. I think Carl, if Bryce Huff can get more pass rushing opportunities, I would argue Jermaine Johnson probably takes a strong enough leap to get somewhere to like 6 to 8 sacks. If we can get 3 guys that can hit 10 sacks on the season, I say we're in good place. That's not accounting for Quinnen Williams and whatever we can do up in the middle of the defense. So as much as as much as it would seem strange to say, I still think the defensive line is the priority this offseason. I still think we would have money to go out there and maybe get a guy like a Bobby Wagner. If not, then, we'll probably go the draft route. But I keep seeing people put linebacker high, and Robert Saleh's doubled down on this a couple of times. If there's not a unicorn at safety or linebacker, we're not grabbing him. At least not in round one, and I think that would exclude what people say is our luxury picks, rounds 1 through 3. So if we see a guy, it's probably going to be somebody that's another freak of nature, high RAS score, rounds 5 through 7. We plug in, we see if we can get him developed. Robert Saleh has a great track history of his linebackers developing season over season. We haven't seen it with Hamza Nasruddin and Jamie and Sherwood as much, but there's also been some injury concerns, and you can argue that Jamie and Sherwood has actually gotten better. So like it's at least somewhat proven in there. So the biggest priority on defensive line for me, linebacker has some easy plug and play options, and I think safety is probably the easiest position to go out there and try to upgrade.
What do you think, Gunny?
I mean, personally, I think the primary concern for me this year is making sure we bring back Bryce Huff. Quinnen Williams is a close second, not because Quinnen right now is not going to be, out of a contract. He's obviously going into his 5th year, but I think it sets a precedent for the young guys like Sauce, like Garrett Wilson, like Breece Hall. Listen, you do what you're supposed to do. You represent this franchise well. You're going to get paid. So I think paying Quinnen is not necessarily a necessity because we need him or he won't play, but more so a necessity in terms of the kind of message to kind of like solidify the culture we're trying to bring at One Jets Drive. Bryce Huff, to me, if it meant we had to let go of Carl Lawson, I'm okay with it. And the reason being is Bryce Huff had the fastest get off of any edge rusher in the NFL consistently. And when you take into consideration the time that he's on the field, vice his production, he would have potentially been somewhere in the upper echelon of individuals and pressures and sacks in the NFL. Now, I get it. I keep hearing he can't stop the run. He can't stop the run. Let me see it first before I buy into it. We don't know if he can stop the run. We haven't had a chance to see him in game time. Some people might not practice well when it comes to the run, but in game time, they're playing on a different level. We haven't seen it for me to just sit here and be like, yeah, no, they're right. This dude can't stop the run. But I think the concept of if you're bringing him in as a pure edge rusher, that speed, man, and that ability to bend, there's nobody on our roster that can do it like Bryce Huff. And so for me, if it means Carl Lawson has to go, then he's got to go. However, if we can get Carl Lawson to restructure his contract and he's still there, then I'm all in for it, right? I know there's some concerns about the defensive tackle position, but I'm with Italy on this one, man. JFM is not an edge rusher. He's just not. I don't know what we're doing. He's not. He's great at setting the edge to slow down the run. Hey, put his big ass in the middle. Put him at defensive tackle and let that man stop the run. And I don't know why it's even a question or why we're like talking about it. Like he's ever since he got paid, he has not shown us the level of return on investment as when he got his contract prior to. Hey, put his big ass in the middle. Now he's a run stuffer. He's already doing that as an edge rusher anyway. So now I think our defensive line is okay. I'm more concerned about the safety position, but like you said, I think we can go ahead and figure that out in the draft. We could potentially find somebody in free agency, but my number one concern, and I'm also saying this, anticipating the New York Jets defense will not finish top 5 this coming season. I think with the amount of money we have to pay to bring in a quarterback, whether it's Aaron or whether it's Derek, we're going to need to bring in some more offensive line help. That's going to happen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think they're going to focus primarily on that side of the ball because it hasn't been said. It hasn't been said. Woody hasn't given them listen, if you either make the playoffs or you're done. But Joe's feeling it, and freaking Coach Saleh's feeling it too. And right now the defense was 5. You can take the hit and be a top 10 defense, but that freaking offense cannot be freaking bottom 5 anymore. It just can't. It just can't be bottom 5 anymore. You got to bring it up into the 21st century. And I do believe we're going to see some resources spent this offseason on the offensive side of the ball. But as such, for me, Bryce Huff is non-negotiable. You need to bring that man back. And Quinnen Williams, get that man under contract for the next 4 to 5 years.
And not only that, it's one of those things where if the offensive line too, you can't miss that either. Even if Becton comes back, you still have to get some backup resources in the draft or even in free agency. But there's no like big name free agency that we can get except McGovern, in my personal opinion. But we also got to remember there's still cuts going to be made for this Jets team. We don't know what the cap is going to look like when all these things happen, when trades and and cuts. So I have faith in Joe Douglas that he's going to do what's best, and I think it's going to be very pivotal that this week that we can relax to get that quarterback. And one more thing, Huff had the fastest get off and did a lot better than a lot of people in his position last year. And he, with the money that he's even being paid and how much of not even start time, he even start that much. It's eye-opening.
And he also broke Josh Allen.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. I think Huff is definitely one of those secret, like, number one options that a lot of people are going to speak about. We definitely need him back on the roster. I think I don't know. Coaching staff is a little bit weird in that because I know what Gunny's talking about. And just from what I was seeing, catching back up on like the season's tape and everything, it's like we're almost still scared to see runs get broken out to the outside, so we're willing to sacrifice a guy like JFM because we spoke about him before. I did a whole bunch of videos dropping down all of his numbers. The guy has, on an efficiency basis, Aaron Donald-like numbers, Jonathan Franklin Myers, when he's in the middle. To me, it only makes sense. I thought we would see Q and JFM go out there and just the middle of everybody's offensive line would just get destroyed weekly, right? Facts. And then
great dynamic duo. Great dynamic duo.
If you still want to put him out on the edge, great, but don't make that the majority of his snap coverage. So maybe we can shift some things up like we expected this year, depending on how they feel about, Jermaine Johnson coming back, Michael Clemens. They play primarily on the left side anyways. So I'm kind of hoping that's the thought process there. But in terms of the free agency talk that Gunny mentioned, and you as well to a point, I think the defense could potentially still finish top 5 if we're investing in the right sources in offense. I kind of see it as an addition versus subtraction situation. We'll finally have an offense that doesn't keep our defense on the field for 45 minutes of a game. So we're going to have Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed and Quentin Williams and all of these guys that much more fresh during the game. Hell, we might even see a boost in their snap counts because they're not out there gassed all game, having to go and play 3 and outs and then jump right back on the field and, try to stop all these key conversions and things like that. So I think that would be one of the biggest benefits from us actually being able to field a productive offense, which, again, we haven't seen in a very, very long time. So I don't know. I'm excited. There's been a lot of things that I've been seeing lately too with some of the like trade scenarios and stuff that are up there. Our potential to go out there and grab like an Orlando Brown. Some of the wide receiver names. I saw Zach Wilson trade for Cameron Sutton or Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton.
So there, I think there's a lot more excitement this offseason than what I've seen in a very long time. I am more so interested in what kind of pieces we can toss out on the line, though. Mekhi Becton coming back can't be a guarantee. I do like everything I've been hearing and seeing. But I would jump at an Orlando Brown trade, 100%. Like, go ahead and slide him in. I would hate to have to do it again where we're seeing like a repeat of last year where we're telling, in this case, Mekhi Becton instead of George Fant. I know we said left tackle, go to the right side. But I mean, at this point, I just want to field the best offensive line that we can see. I do think that would alleviate a lot of concerns with us having to force our hand, trying to double dip in the draft, even though I still think it'll be important. I don't think we should need to necessarily pencil in a tackle in the first round. If we can leave our options open, because keep in mind, Elijah Moore, Denzel Mims, they still haven't rescinded their trade request. I think one of them could be moved. I've seen Jackson Smith from Ohio still mock to us. There's still some guys like Rashid Rice that I like that'll be out there in the first round or two. So whatever can help keep our options open in the draft, I think is kind of where I'm at with some of the free agency moves for us.
Don't forget Dwayne Brown. Dwayne Brown has not said he's retiring either. And he's under contract next year. There's no way they're releasing him. And I think if you bring a guy like an Aaron Rodgers in, hell, even a Derek Carr in, I could see a guy like Dwayne Brown saying, you know what, let's run it back. I want to be healthy for an entire season. Let's run it back one more time. Because when you're a competitor at that level, man, there's got to be a sense of pride about how you go out, how you walk away. which is why I'm still waiting for Tom Brady to say, "Just kidding, I'm not retiring." Because from the go out the way he did, that's some bitch shit. But
run me back another clip about him saying, one more game.
Lose my family. I did the paperwork. Got it.
But Dwayne Brown, man, even with his struggles this year, was still rated out. I think like a top 18.
I think he was 28. I thought it was like, it might have been 18. PFF I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I thought
I was going off in terms of. I thought I saw top 18 from the Pro Football Focus.
I saw top 20. Top 20.
Yeah, same here. And I think he was 18.
In his position. Yeah.
I got to check it out again. I thought I seen 28th or something like that, but yeah.
Okay. And he was hurt. And he was
either
hurt.
way,
so
though.
Either
way, though.
It's so good.
You know what I'm saying?
No matter what, it's so good.
Dwayne Brown coming in, man, I think could be another thing. Max Mitchell was not a slouch either when he was playing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People keep forgetting about these guys. AVT is that dude. He's him. That dude is different. He's going to make whoever's on his side better. So there's a lot of components to the offensive line to where, yes, I want to see some like it getting solidified. We can't go through the roller coaster of individuals just being plugged in like we did last year. The biggest concern right now I have is with center, and I see Ron P. I love Schmitz. Schmitz is one of the guys I really love in this year's draft, and I think Ron P. made a beautiful comment. I would trade down in the first round, get center Schmitz, and take a tackle in the second round, and let McGovern walk. I think center right now, truthfully, is my biggest scare of this offensive line. And I would like it resolved sooner than later.
Your podcast too. Me and you talked about that.
Yeah, bro. Like, because to me, dog, that to me right now is it's the center. It's the glue of the offensive line. And if you don't got that figured out, it don't matter how well the left and the right operate. It can all collapse down the middle. I feel pretty good, man. I think Dwayne Brown sticks around if we get Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr. I have a feeling that that's exactly what he's waiting on. Let me see who we get at quarterback. I'm gonna get this surgery, which I think he already got the surgery.
He already got
surgery. Back. He'll be healthy in time for training camp. So, and again, like Mekhi Becton is looking really good. I mean, again, I'm not gonna put any kind of salt on that, thinking to myself, oh yeah, he's him, but he's looking good. Mekhi Becton, when healthy, was a dominant left tackle in the NFL. I think we're forgetting that. It was about 3 years ago, but we're forgetting that. He's still just 24 years old, young cat. His issue has been health. If he comes back in shape and healthy and can give us a season, even if he can give us 10 games, right? That's a huge boost to this offensive line. Max Mitchell was looking like he's an NFL caliber right tackle. Like, we've got pieces on this roster. And I have a hard time believing, man, that our left guard,
Tomlinson.
Wow.
Lakin?
Lakin Tomlinson. Thank you. Yeah. I have a very hard time believing that he was as bad as he was this year, and that the last 5 years of him playing in the NFL was just a fluke. I'm going to struggle believing that. And he can't get no worse. Let's be honest. He can't get no worse. He can only get better.
Yeah, give him another shot. Like Whitehead. Give him another shot.
Exactly.
Run it back.
So for me, I feel like our offensive line might be better off than a lot of people realize, because injury was our biggest opponent this year when it came to the offensive line. And even when it was being pushed around, remember what the offensive line ranked when Zach Wilson was able to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds? Anybody remember?
Yeah. We were like 13th or something like that.
Yeah.
A top, 14. I think it was top 15 offensive line in the NFL, with Zach Wilson making a decision and getting rid of the ball. Like, to me, that can't go on unsaid. I feel better about the offensive line than most. The center is what really concerns me. But overall on this team, people keep saying we need so much to do this or to do that, man. I don't feel that way. I think the quarterback is going to help a lot. And I think there's a lot of pieces on this roster right now that we have control of that can make us terrifying next year. I'll tell you this. I don't believe there's a single team in the AFC East specifically that wants to play the New York Jets with a quarterback that's competent. I don't think there's a single team in our division that's looking to play, oh, man, we're going to play the Jets. We beat them up this year with no quarterback. We beat them up this year with no quarterback. Nobody in the AFC East wants to see the New York Jets get a quarterback, even an average one, because it's going to be a problem. This team is way more talented than we're giving credit for it, man. I'm excited to get the quarterback figured out, to actually see what this team is capable of next year.
And not only that, I'm going to answer a couple of these questions. We're not going to get Geno Smith. He's not coming back. We're not going to get Lamar Jackson. He's probably going to sit out this year. That's my bet. But overall, Buffalo and the Patriots I think it's the Dolphins and Jets division now. I think I
100%.
strongly feel that. And I know
100%.
Bills Mafia has been coming at me like crazy that that the Jets are going to top. I'm like, dude, Poyer might go to the Dolphins. Shut up. Like there's so many things that could happen. If we get it right on the defense and offense in the free agency and in this draft, we are going to be dangerous again. It's our time. The Bills' time already had their time. They're having problems with Diggs and Allen. They have a lot of free agents, just like we do, but that's more of pivotal pieces for them. And not only that, the Dolphins, they just got to figure it out. Sorry, what's up?
I'm gonna say it right now. If Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr is the New York Jets quarterback next season, the AFC East next year it belongs to the Jets. AFC East champions. I'll say it right now. Confident, cocky, arrogant as hell. If we get Derek Carr or if we get Aaron Rodgers, we are AFC East champions next year. And that's without having everything else figured the fuck out. That's how confident I feel in the impact of a Breece Hall, how confident I feel Garrett Wilson with a freaking decent quarterback can be our own Devontae Adams. We've got a tight end room that I refuse to believe was as bad as they were last year because Conklin and CJ Uzama have proven they can ball in this league and contribute to winning organizations. I'm telling you, if we get freaking Aaron Rodgers or if we get Derek Carr, the New York Jets are AFC East champions next season. I'll put money on it. I will put money on it. That's how confident I am.
I already made my bet. I think there's 4 or 5 options out there where we could say the same thing. Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo with his half broken ass. You can argue there's 5 or You can argue there's 5 or 6 guys. Ryan Tannehill, I think, would be a guy we can get it done with. Is what I could
see the quarterback just got released and saved $30 million for them. So.
Fact. Carson Wentz, I seen Gator. You mentioned it. I didn't get an ESPN update till like 2 minutes ago, so that's crazy. But it's a. I don't think it takes. That'd probably be the takeaway. Gunny's hit it on the head. There's not that much that needs to be done to this roster for us to win the AFC East alone, let alone make the playoffs and go out there and actually make some significant noise. So if there was any takeaway, I would say that's it. Are we going to lose some key pieces that, gave us a lot of success last year? Sure. It happens to every franchise that's seeing success.
Good teams, good rosters usually do. Good rosters usually do. Yes. They will lose some good players.
Exactly. And at least Joe Douglas.
Salah said it too in his press conference. We're going to cut good football.
Facts. Joe Douglas has done a very good job of not only replacing some of the guys earlier on in the first year or two of the rebuild, but he's let go of some guys that we didn't think not only, again, we weren't going to get anything for, but he let go of guys that ended up being bottom tier players on another team. And we ended up being able to turn those into picks that helped us out more so than anything else with like keeping the guy that we were huffing and puffing over. So I hope at the end of the day, we actually can get to where we need to go, which is going to be the playoffs, so that I don't have to keep hearing a bunch of noise about Robert Saleh and JD potentially going out of the building, because they have done the best job that we're going to see, at least probably in this next 10 years or so for us, assuming neither 100%. One of them try to move on to another spot.
They're definitely feeling it.
Let's be honest. They had to rebuild a roster that probably wasn't even an NFL caliber roster. Yeah. And we're talking about a year where we just won defensive and offensive rookie of the year. By the way, it's only ever happened 2 other times in NFL history. And what's crazy is the offensive rookie of the year would have been the second option had our number 1 option at Breece Hall had stayed healthy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a team that arguably had players on it starting that should be freaking pushing carts at like a Kroger or a Walmart or whatever. But they had to start for us.
Or XFL.
We didn't have, or the XFL, right? And now you're talking about candidates on this team right now that, my gosh.
Are leading the league at their positions.
At their positions, bro. In the offseason today, Sauce Gardner wasn't just like the best rookie or a top defensive back. They actually
he's rated number 1 cornerback.
He was the number 1 cornerback in the league in his rookie year. Yeah. Bro, if you are a Jets fan and you can look at this team and this roster and be pissed off, be upset that we freaking started off great last year and we shit the bed. Yeah. We did. There's no offense or buts about it. We shot ourselves in the foot and didn't make the playoffs last year. That was 100% on us as an organization. But damn it, if you can't tell me you look at this team and don't feel really good about what's to come, you're not watching the same football we're watching. There's just no way. There's just no way.
Hope and pray we do everything right. That's all I care about. That's all I care
We've
about.
been saying for a long time we're just a quarterback away. So
Yeah, that's true
time
too.
to shut up and prove it. We're gonna go and get our guy one way or the other.
Let's do it.
Facts.
Let's do it. I better wake up tomorrow morning and we get something.
I'm just ready for next year because I think
too.
I'm getting like I forgot what I gotta find it. I think I left it in the house. But I think I only put like a dub down to be AFC East champions next year. I forgot what the return on that was, but it's a nice little chunk of change. So
we should do a coin. All three of us. We should do a coin.
Coin flip.
Coin flip challenge. See how many wins it's predicted.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know. I hate that damn thing, but I mean, I think it'd be cool if we do it.
I mean, hell, had we stuck by the coin, we could have been freaking singing a much different tune. But we were also adamant on it being wrong.
Turks and
look at us,
right
look
now,
at us now. You know what I'm
saying? Damn, are you paying?
Look, if that coin would have got me that return on investment, bro, I would front all of us.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
Oh my gosh.
I came so close to winning some money.
Oh my God,
just make the playoffs. Oh well.
I'm so tired of Dallas Cowboys fans around me, man. We'll get it next year. All right, fellas, we good?
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta jump off.
All right, guys, that's another episode of the Take Flight Squad. We got Gunny, Banks, and me, Italy Jet. We'll be back next week. Let's hope we get our quarterback. Stay safe. Have fun. Go Jets.
Go Jets.
Peace.